We have a bit of industry news as Complex Magazine has named their top sports media power rankings in 2026. And I'm going to tell you who is selected here in today's video. My name is James Lynch. So shout out to Jedi Goodman, one of the best follows on X. Does a great job of kind of keeping us in the loop with all things news related. And you guys know I love covering industry topics. A lot of the YouTubers out there on the MMA side of things don't really do that. But anyways, here's the full list. So you'll see here, it's Stephen A. Smith, Pat McAfee, Inside NBA Team, Bill Simmons, Colin Cowherd, Shannon Sharp, Adam Scheffner, Shams, Pablo Torre, who's done a great job on the Kawhi Leonard stuff, Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, Michaela Andrews, Dave Portnoy, Brian Windhorst, who does all the NBA insider stuff, Nick Wright, etc., etc. And coming in on the list at number 17 is Ariel Helwani. Let's have a check at how they sort of wrote this up, because again, this is like a mainstream outlet, and I'm always curious to see how the mainstream kind of views MMA as a whole here. So this is what they have to say about Ariel, because obviously in our industry, we have a different opinion of Ariel than maybe the mainstream would, but let's have a quick read here. Mentions that he's got 455,000 subscribers on YouTube. I don't know why they didn't bring up the fact that he's got a big Twitter following as well. I think he has the largest one out of the MMA media side of things. Yeah, he's got 1.4 million followers. So I think that's more significant than his 455 YouTube subscribers, because also that YouTube channel is not just his content, it's also other people of the Uncrowned banner, including obviously, Casey Leiden's documentaries are on there. You've got, obviously, Connor and Rick's content, too. But anyways, just wanted to mention that. It says, claim to fame, Ariel Helwani is the executive editor of Uncrowned and executive producer and hope of the flagship show, The Ariel Helwani Show. He's led a 30-person operation, MMA, boxing, professional wrestling, launched in 2024. Named Journalist of the Year in July of 2026. I mean, to be fair, he wins it every year. I mean, it's just kind of like, it's almost not even worth doing the awards anymore, because he just keeps, might as well just call it the Ariel Helwani Award. And that's not to say he doesn't deserve it in certain years. I feel, though, that they've really, it's more of a popularity contest, because there's a lot more people in this industry that break news on a regular basis that don't even get nominated. So that in itself, you know, I'm not a big fan of how they do the awards. Best advice received early on, we can skip that. Power move. Helwani used MySpace to land Kurt Angle as a first guest for his original combat sports website in 2007. I didn't know that. Okay, so they interviewed him for this, obviously. Helwani doesn't write up his questions prior to his big interviews, but he has a favorite follow-up. Why, or how did that make you feel? Who has too much power in sports, social media algorithms, full circle moment. He secured a 2003 HBO internship, cold emailing the company's general inbox, and returned 19 later as the lead correspondent for Real Sports. That's true. That's actually pretty significant. Okay, so yeah, this is sort of like a, you know, mention and interview and all that different stuff. And listen, he should be on here. You know, there's a lot of people in our industry who don't like Ariel Helwani for a variety of different reasons. I've covered a lot of those reasons here on this channel, but you can't deny the popularity. And again, this was someone that, if you remember when Ariel started, like, he wasn't the number one, like, outlet or any, like, I remember when I first started watching MMA, Sherdog was kind of the leader in MMA coverage, MMA Weekly. There are outlets that have been around longer than Ariel, but to his credit, he emerged as, you know, sort of the top journalist and still is today. And like I said, you know, there's stuff that he does that I don't agree with, but you can't deny the fact that he is arguably the most popular media, not arguably, he is the most popular media member. The other person that they mentioned in this ranking is Nina Drama. I'll talk about her in a sec, but I don't consider her media. It's more like content creation. So yeah, Ariel makes the list. Luke Thomas did not make the list, which I think is kind of interesting. Although, to be fair, Luke has kind of ventured more into politics as well, kind of doing like a 50-50 split, but Luke also has a big following when it comes to the media side of things. So yeah, I think everything here is pretty accurate. I don't, again, know why they didn't put the Twitter following. Didn't mention the whole rift with the UFC or anything like that, although there is kind of this big lie out there that Ariel is banned from UFC events. He's not, to my knowledge. He was, you know, a while ago, but that hasn't been the case since. And yeah, so I think this is pretty fair. Now let's get to Nina Drama, because I have some things to say about that. Nina Drama coming in at what number did she come in at? 21, so not far behind Ariel. And they bring up the fact that she has 6 million TikTok subscribers, 4.8 million Instagram followers. Her YouTube channel is also in the millions as well, 1.94 million. There's likely going to be literal drama when Nina Drama is on this list in the first place, and that's exactly why she's here. This sounds like something from like Entertainment Tonight. What we started out as a labor of love, traveling weekly from Los Angeles to Las Vegas to create UFC content. Nina is now Nina Marie Danielle's full-time gig. She interviews fighters, but a lot of people do that. Her style captures eyeballs. She doesn't talk X's and O's. Her approach is more about getting fighters to laugh at borderline inappropriate jokes and making them more likable in the process. And it's her connection to fighters such as Arman, Sean Strickland, and Pereira that has led to some of the best UFC content on the internet and hundreds of millions millions of views. So that's all correct. Couple things context-wise, they're kind of leaving out here. The first and foremost thing, and she's admitted this, so I don't think I'm saying anything that's offside here, but she works for the UFC. So when they say that it's now her full-time gig, yeah, part of that is because the UFC has hired her and the UFC gives her access that other media members don't. She gets one-on-one, she gets flown to events. She's basically beside Dana White the whole time. I think this is important to mention because, this would be the equivalent of like some NFL content creator, like working for the league and like being on the sidelines and getting exclusive interviews. That's essentially what it is. They're kind of making it out like she did this all independently, and she did to get the job, right? There's no debate there. But that's something to keep in mind. The other thing that they don't really mention is that she's kind of gone away from doing the interviews. If you look on her channel right now, Nina Drama, again, her last interview was a month ago with Gable Steveson ahead of his UFC debut, I believe. Conor McGregor. I mean, this is all stuff from 329, nothing for 330. You look at the content before that 2 months ago. Not a ton of content these days, and that's because she's on Kick now and she's doing more streaming, and I have some thoughts on that as well. But she's definitely cut back, and I'm not sure the reason for that. Is that a UFC call? Is that something she wanted to do more of? Is the Kick streaming? But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If we're watching Nina Drama content, it's mainly on Kick now, or we're seeing the clips that go all over social media, and that's sort of how we've seen all this stuff with her and Armin. It's not been on YouTube, it's been on Kick. So she made that pivot, I want to say last year, because I certainly have noticed a decrease in the amount of UFC interviews we've done. Like if we look back, like we won't even go back like a year ago or something, you'll see that she was doing more, and she was at every pay-per-view pretty much. And I believe when she first started, she was almost at every fight. And how it works is, my understanding is, like she goes to the events, the UFC gives her a couple fighters, and then she goes and does the fun interviews. And my understanding as well, from what I've heard, this is Ann Evans posted this publicly. Ann Evans is the former PR guy for the UFC. The UFC actually gives her content ideas. So it's kind of like a full team effort here, which makes this a little bit different than some of the things they're claiming on here. Best business decision, former fashion model and content creator, moved to Vegas around 4 years ago to focus on the UFC, which was true. She's very smart. Like when I first met Nina Drama, I remember her being on the red carpet. She had red hair and she was doing more prank videos, but that sort of parlayed into a full-time gig with the UFC. Recent power purchase, don't buy expensive things. I knew I made it when people started making up gossip videos about me, which I guess she's going to call that's what this is, but it's not. It's a news video. It's not a gossip video. Drama claims that her content shaped how boss UFC Dana White views specific fighters, including fan favorite Armin Tsarukyan. That's probably true. Biggest win. I don't have time to sit back and look at my biggest wins. They're all wins and there's more to come. Sure. Fair quote there. But yeah, no mention of working for the UFC. No mention on Kick either. I don't really know why they're not mentioning Kick, because that she's developed a pretty big audience on there. What is her Kick following now? I should have had this up. I'm sorry. I just thought they would have the numbers in there. Let's see. I'm looking for here. Kick.com Nina Drama. That's what I'm looking for. Where's her Kick channel? Here we go. Oh, this is clips. I don't know, but either way, she has a pretty big following on Kick as well. But okay, this is something else I wanted to bring up with Nina Drama that I don't think people realize. This is a great thread. Shout out to Devin Nash, and this post is a little bit old. I think this was posted back in April of this year. But this is really interesting and something I think that's worth mentioning with Nina Drama. And again, this is not to like throw shade at Nina Drama, but it would give you an idea of how she's become so popular on Kick. So we'll read the quote here. It says, if you understand this chart, you'll understand the state of live streaming in 2026. You can propel any influencer to high viewership regardless of content quality by tricking the algorithms into featuring them. It guarantees followers. It's basically paid to win. Here's how it works. Central Discord servers post opportunities for anyone to clip content from a streamer in exchange for CPM. Money per 1,000 views. Typical CPMs are 50 cents to $2 with a minimum view limit for a payout of 100,000 views. Clippers are mostly second or third world, so that means not in the US, meaning like India or wherever, where the USD currency and exchange rate is more favorable. Platforms are usually TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts, but also sometimes X. Clavicular has said that his payouts are sometimes as high as $30 CPM, but I don't believe that because of the view limit. Many of the views on these charts are free. Clavicular had 2.2 billion views on 70,000 clips, putting the average clip at about 31,000 views. That would suggest most of the views are free below the 100 view limit. So he writes this whole thread. It's worth doing. If you guys want, I can link that in the description. But how this ties to Nina Drama, look who comes in beside Clavicular as the amount of clippers. And this is, again, back in March and April. It could be similar numbers now. I wasn't able to find an updated list here. But coming in right behind Clavicular, Nina Drama has 932 clippers. And these aren't even people that Nina's hired or anything like that. It could be Kick. It could just be people that want to make some extra money here. So that's part of the reason why Nina's become so popular on Kick. And I'm not saying she doesn't have any talent. She does great interviews. She does. She does something very unique, and there's obviously an audience for it. But what I am pointing out is this is why she's gone viral on Kick, and she's sort of entered in the mainstream, as you see here getting on the sports media list, is because she has 932 people every single day clipping her content. So you're seeing there 22,516 videos. That's clips. And then she's got over 8 million views in that as well. Because this is interesting because, not to get off the MMA side of things here, but like I've never understood why Clavicular's been popular. And granted, I'm an older guy, doesn't really cater to my audience, but I just don't find him that engaging. He comes across as very socially awkward. And I just have never understood why he's become so popular. Like, if you want to talk about an industry plant, that's someone who I think probably is. But it makes sense now because I think the reason they basically made him become popular because of all the clippers. Like, someone is zoned in on him. Look at this. He's got 1,600 clippers. No wonder we're seeing all his clips all over social media, whether it's X, Instagram, TikTok. So they've basically made him viral. I would argue the same way they've made Nina Drama viral on Kick as well, because if you remember, she was mainly sort of part of UFC fandom. A lot of UFC people knew her, but I do see now other streamers and content creators reference Nina Drama here as well. So they've basically done a good job of forcing her to be viral by the amount of clippers she's had. Again, she's got just 2 more clippers per day than Neon does, which is really interesting. So just wanted to put that in perspective. Again, I just trying to show you guys, a different side of the industry and how things sort of run and work or whatever. And I think it's worth mentioning all this, but congratulations to both. Again, this is a lot of good media exposure, and this is the type of thing that you can parlay into other things when you're on a list like Complex, which again is a pretty popular sports magazine and has, names on here, like I said, of, Stephen A. Smith, Pat McAfee, etc. So yeah, interesting list here, but wanted to add some context to everything else here because again, if you're a mainstream person reading this, you have one idea of how this works. And if you're an MMA person, this is how the mainstream views 2 of the top big personalities in our sport. So I just wanted to mention that and kind of do a video on this. And I like doing this stuff. I know it's not going to view that well on YouTube, but no one really covers this stuff. There's a lot of drama content on there that I don't really do a lot of. I prefer doing these news types of videos. So if you guys like more of this stuff, just let me know in the comments and I'll try and do a better job of covering stuff that's going on in the industry. But yeah, there you have it. Ariel Helwani 17, Nina Drama 21 on the Complex Sports Media list. So let me know your thoughts in the comments here. What do you think of both personalities? Do you think they are ranked in their proper spots here? Are you a fan of either? Are you not a fan of both? Let me know in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.